Hi, Rich Benatti again. This is part 3 of veneering and restoring a 1941 Packard Deluxe inside door reveals in wood. Okay, we talked about the first part of how it actually fits on the car. The second part was when we actually cut a piece of this, steam bent it in our jigs that are over here, as we mentioned. Got the 2 jigs, and now we have the correct shape. Once that shape was achieved, we had to select some veneer. Now if you take a look at this piece here, the original pattern of this piece had diagonal lines, or the grain of the wood going this way. It had the opposite effect on this side. Then it had 2 little pieces of burl's eye right here, separated by an aluminum piece, which we'll show you how we make it. And then it had 2 what I call Rosetta bursts of wood, where the center was like a little rose cluster in the center. Okay, we're going to show you what we did. We had to order several types of wood. The first one was the easiest. This one is the diagonal piece, okay, where we took a piece of the wood, we cut it on an angle, and it was glued onto the actual wood reveal. I'll show you that. The second was this burl's eye. Now we had two choices for the burl's eye. One was a very, very tiny burl's eye, which is bird's eye, I should say. I call it burl's eye, but it's bird's eye, little tiny little swirls of knots or whatever, and it's cut down in a very neat pattern. This was the other type of bird's eye, but we felt that the bird's eyes were too large. We liked this one here. It matched the original perfectly. And finally, we got several sheets. Even though we only need a small piece of it, we bought several sheets of this in order to create this center piece, which is this piece right here that you see. See? Okay, Hugo, you're going to point to that rose section. So basically what we did was we're going to take the 2 pieces that match, even though we're not using hardly any of it. We're going to cut out that section there, and we're going to laminate and glue them onto here. Now let's go back over to the finished piece. Hugo, help me hold it. Hugo is doing this entire thing. He's an extremely talented craftsman. Takes a lot of hours of work, and each one of these pieces had to be fit in here. This was done with an X-Acto knife. He had to get this perfectly so it fits in there, because you can't have it, can't be too large or too small. And you can see that the diagonal pattern is on this side, it's on that side. We have our little rose in the center, and the 2 pieces of burl's eye, which are right here. He's also created, this I see so many times, people will actually make these things, they make them too thick, too small. So it's nothing more than a piece of aluminum that separates the divisions in the different types of wood. This has to be fit in there. Okay, it's like an inlay. The Egyptians did the similar kind of thing, where the piece of metal is actually fitted in between. It has to be bent and shaped so it's perfectly fitted in between. Okay, you can't just put a cut in there and glue the thing in there. There's a lot of restorations that I see. They'll do a beautiful job and everything, and you see like huge gaps between the piece. It takes a lot of doing, but it can be done. Once that's completed, we're going to take this piece, fit it back onto the car, and then this will be sanded down with a very light sandpaper. There's a piping that goes here. We have to trim this over here, and obviously this wood has to be sanded and stained in such a way that we'll be able to varnish this. We use varnish. I don't like to use polyurethane, because the polyurethane makes it look fake. The varnish is a very, very malleable material. You could varnish it. Takes overnight to dry, sand out all the little imperfections, and keep adding it until the piece is finished. Once it's done, it can be placed onto the car, and you'll have a quality restoration. Okay? We're going to do part 4, which is the completed part, which is not, we'll probably be doing that next week, so I guess you could tune back into YouTube and see this completed on the car. Thank you.